Hello, welcome to the Future News for August 24th, 2026. Um, just in the future, the downfall of Trump is going to include Natalie Harp. Natalie Harp has been like the viral sensation of this week. And there's two possibilities for who Natalie Harp is and what she's all about. Okay? These two possibilities include that she's what she appears to be, someone who's in love with Trump. And like he seems to be having a relationship with her. Not that he's in love with her, but that he's having a relationship with her. Or that she's a spy. And it's like, I'm very intuitive about things. I mean, she could be a spy and in love with him. I guess that's kind of a third possibility, but it's kind of definitely one or both of those things. And both of them seem dangerous in different ways. I guess being in love with Trump, like, how the hell did she get there? Like, it seems like if there's other people who are in love with Trump, they're not following him around being a human printer. They're just in love with him, in love with him from home. You know, she wrote him a letter, but apparently she wrote George W. Bush a letter too, so she has some type of like president fetish. Like, this is what she presents as. It's like when they said, you know, that Trump blew Ghislaine Maxwell's horse. They said that Trump blew Ghislaine Maxwell's horse to cover up for him blowing Bill Clinton, because somehow blowing Ghislaine Maxwell's horse was better. Well, they're saying that she's totally in love with Trump because that's supposed to be better than being a spy. I guess it is better than being a spy. But even trying to give them credit as if they're telling the truth that she's just in love with him, that's got some concerning um, elements to it too. It's not as concerning, but I don't see why more people aren't talking about her being a spy. Like, and here's the nature of her being a spy. Like, they apparently know her backstory. She came from like homeschooling and Christian schools and colleges, and then I guess went into broadcasting and then became, Trump's human printer. But that doesn't mean she's not a spy or that she's not in contact with, especially as a broadcaster. If once she got some sort of broadcasting career, if Russia or Israel didn't contact her and turn her into a spy, that seems like easy enough, even if she's kind of like an idiot and not really aware of it. Now, does Russia or Israel need a spy on Trump? Isn't Trump already their agent? So, what role does she play? Probably just like to communicate in a way that isn't being, monitored to the extent that somebody might be monitoring Trump's communications. So, if Putin wants to send Trump a message and he can just send it through Natalie Harp, that probably avoids some sort of potential complication. I mean, it does seem like Trump has been able to communicate with Putin, as much and as often as he wants anyway. But she could still serve a role. It seems like they've groomed her since she was a child. That her dad was apparently associated with Trump and somewhat in this Trump network. So she's kind of been groomed or trained for this position, as a Christian nationalist, even if she wasn't directly contacted, by these governments to be a spy for them. But it seems like both. It seems like when you read her letters, they don't read like something she could have. That I mean, they read like they could possibly be written by her, the individual, feeling this way. And they seem far more likely to be constructed by an organization such as the KGB. And she's just the one who, is she's the face for their intrusion into our government in this particular way. So we'll see what happens with her. I think she's going to be in a large part the downfall of Trump, which is great. And, whether she's a spy or not, I think we should welcome her back to, humanity and to being an American. I think that's just, like, it's like, okay, I'll put it this way. No matter how much of a Russian agent she is, she's not in control of Trump. She might be, funneling certain pieces of information to him as a human printer. But she's not Trump's handler or Trump's master. Maybe in some ways she is. Like, I'm not saying she's completely not Trump's handler, but she's not his only handler, if that makes sense. Like, not taking anything away from her, but just that there's other people who are Trump's handler or, Putin's intermediary for Trump to control Trump, besides Natalie Harp. But she seems very likely to be one of them. And then it seems like it's not, like she's kind of the weak link in this whole regime. Like she's going to be the one who flips or is rescued, I would say. Like if we rescue Natalie Hart from her obsession with Trump or from her uh, role as a spy for Putin, then, she's somewhat a victim of whatever propaganda and stuff she was put through. Hello, Echo. How are you? You can do the reactions if you want. So I'm talking about rescuing Natalie Harp, also rescuing like ranchers and stuff. I was gonna put that in the title, but it was getting long. So American Rescue Force rescuing Natalie Harp from Trump's clutches. I thought that would kind of get to people because, like, he's got more of a crush on her than he has on you. That's for sure. He has more of a crush on Natalie Harp than he's ever going to have on, like, your average random Trumper. So they should be jealous of her, I would imagine. But I think if we talk about rescuing her from Trump, that'll get people to kind of see where this is going. Like, again, I don't think she's Trump's main handler. Probably Melania was, is, and so is, so Natalie Harp is like literally her replacement as his handler. He might be thinking she's his replacement he's Melania's replacement as his wife, but she's also her replacement, sorry, Melania's replacement as his handler. So I think it's interesting to talk about like I bet what's her name, um, Caroline Levitt. I bet Caroline Levitt thought that she was going to be Trump's next like love interest, and then she sees that it's obviously Natalie Harp, and that's what got her out of the regime. Ultimately, it's crazy. It's crazy that some of those people could be motivated by love or pretending to be motivated by love. That their angle for their spying is to pretend to be motivated by love. So, welcome to the live stream. Thank y'all for being here. We were just talking about Natalie Harp and what a traitor she is. What a traitor all Trump mutineers are. But how she's going to be like the downfall of the Trump administration. It's really weird how, when they've been against, women and girls and everything the entire time, that it will be this girl who ends up playing an instrumental role in ending the Trump regime. It's like, and in a different way too. Because if you just said that, President's relationship with this young girl is the reason for his downfall, You would think it has to do with like the scandal of him having a relationship with her, like Monica Lewinsky. You would think that's what it's about. But in this case, it's because of some spy shit, which is crazy. It's because of some like more specifically like treason kind of stuff. So it's a crazy thing. YouTube's obsessed with what people eat. And the question is wanting to ask people now is, what did y'all have for dinner? YouTube's very weird. Um, YouTube is a very weird platform. Okay. So it's fun to talk about Natalie Harp. To talk about all these ranchers that are going to lose their ranches and farmers that are going to lose their farms because they voted for Trump like dumbasses. And I think we should talk about rescuing these people because ultimately we could come up with programs and stuff that rescue them or give them their farms back or something like that. Uh, that rescue, ideas and conversations that end up rescuing Natalie Harp. You know, it's interesting to think about what that will do. Like, if Caroline Leavitt ends up leaving the administration and turning on Trump, that seems kind of unlikely. I feel like you can't hope for anybody to turn on Trump because hardly anybody does. And when they do, then they like turn back to him, like Michael Cohen. But it does seem like when people like Natalie Harp get this much attention, like it doesn't go away. They're kind of famous for life. And that can have an effect on somebody's day-to-day decisions, even if they seem to be completely obsessed with or completely controlled by, a genocidal maniac tyrant. And it's hopeful to think about how much everybody's collective attention. She said something in one of her letters about, I listen to people that I have avoided listening to. Well, who are those people? Like people in her real life or like the people on the internet? Like what the media is saying. Something got to her, like she referred to it. Somebody talking about her got to her. Maybe she just means other people in the administration. And that kind of gets back at the, whose plane were you on? Were you on the decoy plane or were you on the real plane? And the people who are on the decoy plane should rightfully be like against each other, suspicious of each other. Marco Rubio is the one who supposedly knew. So, like, is his campaign slogan going to be, I was willing to die for Trump, by knowingly being on the decoy plane and telling everybody else nothing? Like, all the other people that were really close to Trump, I betrayed all of them to, keep it hush-hush that we were on the decoy plane. That's Marco Rubio's, like, campaign angle, that's what he's going to run for president on? Don't you see the problems with that? Don't you see the flaws with that being your strategy? I betrayed everybody else in the cabinet for Trump. Again, that's going to get him some votes, like a decreasing number of um, remaining Trump-near votes. These people who are, forever loyal to Trump. But I think the exposure of Natalie Harp is going to make these people who are basically in love with Trump and don't admit it, it's going to make them like realize that Trump's never going to be with him. That like Natalie is the example of what it would be like to be in a relationship with Trump. They can live vicariously through Natalie. Like they can run behind Trump's golf cart in their mind, or they could get in the trunk of Trump's car in their mind and imagination. And that's, you know, she's the stand-in for them as far as the relationship they imagine having with Donald Trump. And you can say that, there are a lot of people who like Trump aren't imagining having a relationship. Well, they might not admit it, but they are, and they can't help but think about um, Natalie Harp and wishing that they were her, which is pathetic when everybody's making fun of her, and it's like, oh well, um, that's what you wish for. You wish you were that person, because everyone would be making fun of you if you were the one who wasn't, or everyone should be. If they knew who you were, they would be making fun of you for being in love with Trump, because it's ridiculous. Like, that's not even love. Like, he's an evil person, and to love evil like that is evil. And so he's obviously a hate-filled, hate-mongering, hate thing. I was gonna say a hate-filled man, but it's more hate than that. So to be in love with that is just to be like, oh, this person justifies my hate. It's like, what is your hate anyway? It's being afraid of stuff. We all learned that from like Yoda. And it's like, stop. Stop being afraid of stuff. Stop being scared little bitches that love Trump because you're so scared of stuff. Like, it's pathetic and embarrassing for you. It's embarrassing for all of us. It's just embarrassing to have that around. So, anyway, y'all do the reactions and comments and stuff. Who's that? Victory versus Marlboro? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. It sounds like you're comparing cigarette brands. Oh, Viceroy. Still sounds like you possibly are comparing cigarette brands. Marlboro is obviously a cigarette brand. What the hell is Viceroy? Okay, hit the reactions to get somebody better in the chat. What are you talking about? It's okay, you can just use emojis or hit the reactions. We were talking about Natalie Hart being in love with Trump. We were talking about how all his supporters are in love with him, but you can see how he treats her. And it's bound to affect people psychologically. That they're going to wish they were her, but then you're going to be glad that you're not her because of how terrible everyone thinks of her. Now she wrote that super cringe letter about embarrassing him. And it's like, y'all are all embarrassing all of us. And it's worse than embarrassment. It's like, shame. It makes us feel great shame. It's worse, far worse than embarrassment, the way they make us feel great shame. Okay. I don't know what the significance of all these sounds is. Okay. So anyway, one thing that's embarrassing is Christians. This is an example of Christians. What's wrong with them, and why all the sexual repression and stuff that comes with Christianity, Trumpism and patriarchy and stuff produces these weirdos. These obsessed weirdos like Natalie Harp. And that's accepting their explanation of things. That she's just in love with him. she just has some weird God complex, daddy complex about Trump. And that's what it is. Like, that's the problem with Christianity. If you can't form a healthy relationships and healthy sexual relationships, it produces all this weird shit that you can just call Trumpism without having to get into details of what it all is. But if you're like, wait, what about this? Yeah, Trumpism. What about that? Yeah, Trumpism. And say, well, we need to end that stuff. Like, that's not good for anybody. I'm not trying to kink shame anybody if your kink is apparently presidents. But at least have that kink for, like, not fascist presidents. Like, you can do something to fix that particular problem. To tweak that particular response. So think about saving Natalie Harp. I think it would probably be a it would probably be a useful conversation when people would talk about it. I think what they'll talk about instead is just kind of making fun of her, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of part of it. So if you're trying to get somebody to break some sort of bad habit or stop being bad in some way, you could make fun of them, and then maybe they'll stop. And I do think that's a good part of it. I just think she's also a good example of what you want to do to be able to get people to, convert back to Americans again. So, and we could start with her. Show what it's like to turn somebody back into an American, even if they're in love with an evil dictator. So, anyway, I guess I'd seen people talking about this. I was going to do this live stream 12 hours ago, but I got caught up doing something else. And I'm doing it now. It's like, well, it's still earlier than when I used to live stream, which is nice because I don't like some of the audience that I usually get. But doesn't seem like there's any interest in Natalie Harp. Oh well. I'm not too disappointed because like, I guess the general idea is nobody cares about this lady. Like, Trump doesn't actually care about her. She's making the news because she's obsessed with Trump. Hello. And then it seems to me like she should be making a little bit more news as a potential agent, or one of the ways that Putin or Netanyahu or somebody communicates and controls Trump. I think people should talk about that a little bit more, since it's so likely. Since it seems like a lot more likely than she's actually in love with him. Or if she is in love with him, it's one of those, they've groomed her into this thing. The same way they got her to write letters to President Bush somehow. And that it particularly came in handy. It would be weird if they approached everybody who wrote, every young person who wrote letters to the presidents and tried to ultimately sway them into being some sort of spy. But it seems like something like that happened, or happened naturally, organically, with Natalie Harp. So doesn't seem like we're gonna get any opinions on it. Hello, Turtle Duck. What do you think of Natalie Harp? Spy or person in love? Or both? What do you think most accurately describes Natalie Harp? She's a spy for probably Putin or Netanyahu, or that's probably the most likely, right? Just even saying the words out loud, it just seems so much more likely that she's actually in love with Donald Trump. I don't know, what do you think? The human printer, Natalie Harp. Do you think she's a spy? Or actually in love with Trump? Which one seems more likely? Thanks, David. What do you think of the videos? You've watched them for a month. Which videos do you watch? What do you think of them? Thanks for watching them, by the way. Feel free to comment or like the videos. Feel free to share the videos or remix the videos and use them for your own content. Oh, you like the videos a lot. Good. I'm glad you liked them. Nice to see you in live. Thanks for saying that you like the videos. I don't see too many people in the live stream who seem to have ever seen my videos. They come in the live stream a lot, but people who've seen the videos seem to be a different group of people. Yeah, they're the only one chatting. I think that Turtle Duck guy was here briefly, but he's like very busy or something. Yeah, the channel is highly suppressed. The channel is heavily suppressed and not available to most viewers. So I wonder how you found it. I wonder how you first discovered the content. No, don't worry about them. They'll leave. Turtle Duck says, Euless, if you run for president, what would you tell Putin himself? Why don't you answer my question about Natalie A.R.F? Do you think she's a spy for Putin? Or do you think she's really in love with Trump? Or both? And aren't those the most likely options? Don't you think there's an 80 or 90% chance she's a spy for Putin? There's a 20 or 10% chance she's in love with Trump. And there's like a 3% chance that she's a spy for Putin who's in love with Trump. Well, I mean, I think that's a low chance, but it's still possible. Yeah. Turtle Duck says, also, are you scared Trump will try to blackball you during your run? I don't think Trump's going to allow, I think we have to be aware of the threat that Trump poses to democracy and have a plan to remove him from office before November, which is like 2 months away. It's crazy. No, but I guess it is most likely both. Like, if she definitely is a spy, there's a 90% chance she's a spy. There seems to be only like a 20% or 50% chance she's in love with him, maybe. Maybe more than that, sure. But if, if there's a 90% chance she's a spy and a 70% chance she's in love with him, it's very unlikely that she's in love with him but not a spy. And it's pretty likely that she's a spy who's also in love with him. Oh, that's cool. Thanks for answering that, because I feel like it's a good question to have. Like, you said most likely both. And I'm like, oh, it's unlikely both. It's like, no. There's a very strong possibility or likelihood of both. And then there's kind of a smaller possibility that it's just one or the other. That actually makes sense because of how likely it is. Oh, I guess I'm thinking that it'd be so unlikely for somebody to actually be in love with Trump. But she might be. I guess here's the question. Does she write her love letters to him, or does the KGB write her love letters to him? Because to me, the fact that it's, hard to say that they would be really from her instead of the KGB seems to be pretty much confirmation of your intuition that they're from the KGB. You're getting axolotl. What does that mean? You're getting like a pet salamander kind of thing? Axolotl? Like a real live one? They live in water? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I have to help the cat. Here you go. Come on, step back a second. Here. There you go. Okay. And happy birthday. You have 3 in Minecraft? He's talking about a real live one. Hi, I'm good. How are you? Thank y'all for being here and commenting. We were just making fun of Natalie Harp. We were just talking about Natalie Harp and whether or not she's in love with Trump or whether she's a spy or both. It seems like both, but who knows? Random page from a book. Churches that champion liberation of oppressed beings have always been more like the real Jesus. And conservative churches and their mogul allies have the control of the media to push the image of what Christians believe along right-wing and fascist directions to the point that the Trump regime is making laws and orders favoring what they call traditional Christianity, which is exactly that brand fascism. Yep. Paint the paintings myself, write the books myself. Thank y'all for being here. So, Natalie Harp, as a Christian who's in love with Trump, the Antichrist, is a very classic example of why we need to replace Christianity. Because look what it makes, people like that. Well, we're gonna shut down the live stream anyway pretty soon, so when your phone goes out of battery, get some sleep. I wouldn't have anything to say to Putin. We'll have Putin removed. It's like asking what you would say to like some other imprisoned former leader, Bolsonaro or something. What would you say to Bolsonaro? Fuck Putin. We'll have Putin removed, no problemo. I would say, look, I wouldn't say this to Putin. I'd say, look, we're revealing all the ways that you've been contacting with and controlling Trump, including this war in Iran, all this shit that Putin did. Expose all that shit. Turn everybody against him. Turn Iran against him. And take their churches. When you say, Putin is a cult, I believe in you to handle your business. Yeah, well, the cult is Christianity. The trap is Christianity. We take that away from them. Again, do you have a copy of my book yet? We take that away from them. When I was a kid, the conservative Christians already had a monopoly on the brand of Christianity. All the televangelists and radio broadcasters were conservative Christians. That's surely how people outside Christianity saw the religion. They controlled the mainstream presentations. 40 years later, an evil Christians fully activated as Antichrist by the embodiment of the Antichrist in their God baby, Trump, have completely laid claim to what traditional Christian means in order to lock it in their fascist hellscape. So it's time to take their religion away from them. Not just Putin, but Trump. And this is just Jesus' plan. I'm just the one presenting it to people, waiting to encounter somebody who's interested in the information, wants to do something about it. Do you think Elon is using housewife bots as a spy gadget for Putin? Yeah, I think whatever, like I never heard this before, but the guy that Zelensky just fired from the army, they said he has connections with Elon Musk. It's like, well, of course you have to fire somebody who has connections with Elon Musk. If that guy was friends with Elon Musk, if Elon Musk is compromised, the guy who's supposedly running your defense, of course you have to fire him. Like, you can't let your whole military be compromised by somebody who's willing to be friends with Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is on the side of Putin, on the side of Trump. So how could you have that guy in your army? And I feel like, this idea that people were protesting that firing seems very suspicious or orchestrated or whatever. Oh gosh, people are that wrong about thinking Elon Musk is on their side. in Ukraine. I think we should all own Tesla technology. We should seize those companies. You've been here long enough to hear that part of my presidential platform, right? Seize the companies funding Trump's ballroom. Seize all companies supporting Trump. It's a pretty easy test. Did you support Trump? Did you stop Trump? Did you work? Did you use your company power to stop Trump? No. If you didn't, so we seize your company. Like some of them yesterday or some of them the day before. But do you see that easy test? Company. Did you stop Trump? Did you help Trump? Okay, they're category 2. Seize the company. Have you heard anyone else having this conversation? Have you heard Hassan Piker mentioning this idea? Probably in my book. Let's see if I can turn to the page. Unlearning all the bigotry, sexism, racism, and patriarchy can be greatly assisted by listening to children and our inner child. You just look for it on Amazon. It's on Amazon. They'll send it to your house in like 3 days after you buy it. And thanks for getting a copy. If you can get multiple copies and share one with someone else. But these early copies might be collector's items and worth a lot of money. No, I don't want to be mad. I don't get mad about things like that. Yeah, if you just find like a copy you can read for free online or something, do that. I'd be grateful that you read my book. It's not about money, it's about information. It's about getting the information out to people. And the information is simply how to replace Christianity. And the reason to replace Christianity has everything to do with Natalie Harp. She's like the poster child example of why we have to replace Christianity. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to you reading it. I don't mind if you don't spend money on it. Of course. Again, it's not about money. I have to work a regular job like other people do. I just do this in my spare time. I don't make any money. I mean, I might make a little bit of money from selling the books, but I don't sell very many books right now. I might sell millions of books in the future, and then I'll have millions of dollars, and that'll be cool. But right now, I don't sell that many books. But this is one of the books that you could buy. So, sorry, somebody else came into the live, so I figured I'd show them what we were talking about. And, oh no, it's just that guy. Let's ask Skylar's Fantasy. Skylar's Fantasy, do you think that Natalie Harp is in love with Trump, or do you think she's a spy? Or both? Do you think Natalie Harp is in love with Trump? Do you think she's a spy, or both? I guess I should do a stupid... We only have potentially 20 more minutes of the live stream, because we've already been 40 minutes. Here. I'll do a poll. I'm going to put it as really. I didn't realize there was a character limit. Really? Oh, I should make it orange. If it's not orange, I'll be missing an opportunity. She's a spy. I like doing these polls. It's kind of fun because people just come through and like vote, even if they're not gonna bother explaining their reasoning. But anyway, I think it's fun to talk about rescuing her. Because what are we talking about rescuing her from? Well, we're either talking about rescuing her from a dangerous obsession, infatuation, or we're talking about rescuing her from her spy job, from her job as a spy. I'll do this. Put the thing there so I can put my hat back on for Trumpers. There. Well, I feel like I should have eaten some more. Like, I guess a spy isn't necessarily the best word for it because a spy implies you're like intelligent or something. A spy, a plant, something like that. I guess I probably can't edit the poll. Nobody's even voted yet. I could redo it. Well, I don't think they want to talk about Natalie Harp. I think it's a conversation worth having. The net and YouTube seems to have certain ideas about conversations. There. It's weird where you're allowed to put a poll. They call her the human printer. I should probably just write a song about that. They call her the human printer. I'll go do that. That sounds like fun.